Explained. I'm going to start with some of the easiest and go all the way to the most genius thumbnail formats ever created on YouTube, so you can take inspiration from it and use it on your next video. Let's start with the comparison thumbnail format. This is when someone's showcasing two similar objects that are unique but are also in the video. Sometimes you have supporting text to emphasize the differences between the two objects. This works so well because it has easy to understand visual clarity and it showcases what is going to be happening in the video. For example, let's just say you're doing a video on if fast food burgers are better than home cooked burgers. Maybe you have a McDonald's burger on the left and a home cooked burger on the right. And this really works well in any niche. Now let's move on to the ranking format. So this is when you're showcasing a ranking system within the thumbnail. Either you have the vertical style or the horizontal style. With the vertical style, you typically have lettering on the left side of the thumbnail with the corresponding colors. And with the horizontal, you typically have a grid from 1 to 5 or something similar to that. So this works so well because without even the title being present, it already creates intrigue by showcasing known objects in specific positions that the audience might agree with or disagree with. So if I was doing a tier list on Minecraft blocks, I probably want to throw in diamond ore, logs, and maybe a more controversial block like sponge and place them like this. And this really works well in any niche. As long as you're making a video that's centered around ranking items or things, it should do well. Next, let's check out the before and after thumbnail format. So this is very similar to the comparison thumbnail format, but it's showcasing the beginning and the payoff rather than just two random parts of the video. So think rusty to shiny, incomplete to complete. So this works so well because it already satisfies the viewer by showcasing a drastic change in the same object. And if you want to execute this for yourself, make sure you're taking two of the same object and showcasing them in the same angle, same lighting, and ideally the same background. So the only thing that the viewer can focus on is the drastic difference of the actual item. And this can really work well in any niche as long as your video is centered around a progression. So for example, if I am getting rid of acne, or if I am recreating a logo, or if I am improving my baking over time. Now let's talk about the reacting format, which you've probably seen across YouTube. This is when a creator's face is one of the largest elements on the thumbnail, typically on the left or right side. The rest of the space is filled with the thing that they are reacting to. And most times this is a visually clear image that's actually a thumbnail from an outlier video, which is a video that performed really well for a channel. So for example, think of a video where someone's reacting to the world's craziest soccer goals. You would have the reactor's face on the right, and then in the open space, you would have someone scoring a crazy soccer goal. So the easiest way to execute this format is by keeping it super simple and breaking the thumbnail down into 2 to 3 main components. One is the face of the creator. This should be prominent and large on the left or right side. The rest of the space should be filled with an image that is not super cluttered and easy to understand what is happening, but also relating well to the video. Now let's move on to the curiosity format, which has been used on YouTube for a very long time. You take a basic image and then you add a circle or an arrow to it to draw the viewer's eye to a specific part. This works so well because it allows you to control where the viewer is looking to increase intrigue on the video. So you might be thinking that this is super easy to execute, but there's actually a lot of viewer psychology around it. Because just placing a red circle or a red arrow anywhere in a thumbnail won't make it more interesting. If anything, it might make it more confusing. So you really have to think about the psychology of the placement. You want to be thinking about bringing attention to something that is there or might not even be there, but it could be there. So for example, let's take this image of a cliff. There's not really anything that's drawing your eye to anything specific here. But as soon as I add this red circle, now it becomes a lot more interesting because I can actually see this cave and now I'm wondering what the heck is going on there. This is typically paired with a title such as "You Missed" or things that you missed in plain sight. And this can be really used in any niche as long as you're doing it correctly. Now let's take a look at the time format. This is when a thumbnail is showcasing a moment in time, typically in hours or days. So this works because somewhat similar to before and after, it showcases a glimpse into the video. And the best way to execute this format is one, have a video centered around time. So think I survived 7 days, I baked for 2 days, traded crypto for 24 hours straight, and a day of a life. So make sure you include a timestamp that's within the video's range somewhere in the thumbnail. But there is a key note about this. Don't just pick a time that is early on in the video. Pick something that is later in the video, but not necessarily at the end. This is because you want to create as much intrigue as possible within the thumbnail without giving away the ending, but also not being so early on that there's nothing interesting really going on. Here's it doing well in gaming, entertainment, finance, and cooking. Now let's dive into the small versus big format. This is when you're showcasing a smaller or bigger object and having the contrasting size next to it. This could either be two of the same objects or two different objects. Sometimes you provide an arrow with text to emphasize the smaller or larger object. This has worked so well because it allows you to see the contrasting size and get a true scale of how big something is or how small something is. So take this thumbnail for example. Let me remove the small object. Now that large object looks normal size, but as soon as I add back that small object, it all of a sudden becomes a lot bigger. This is because you need that contrast to make sense of how big something is. And if you want to do this for yourself, here are some key things you need to take away. Have two objects near each other that are clear and easy to read. In some cases, highlight the smaller one or the larger one with an arrow or text, and keep the background super simple. Now let's get into the POV thumbnail format. This is when it's showcasing a single action from the POV of the creator. Most thumbnails on YouTube are third person, so having a first person thumbnail really stands out. This works so well because it grabs the viewer's attention on showcasing that action, whether it's drawing, giving someone a credit card, or playing a video game. So the easiest way to execute this for your channel is making it simple. Focus on one or two main things. So this would be the creator's hands and the object they're holding, and then the thing that they're doing. Now let's get into a thumbnail format that's been recently getting popular, which is the pinboard format. This is when someone takes the classic pinboard style and uses it as the inspiration for their thumbnail. So think different pieces of evidence strung together with red string and red pins. So this works really well because people associate these boards with crime and investigation. So if your video is centered around these themes, it can work really, really well. So the best way to execute this is have your video's focal point be front and center, whether this is a picture of an individual or specific text. Include any supporting evidence around it, such as maps, article clippings, or other photos. And all these should be connected with red pins and red wire on a cork background. This can really work in a lot of different niches, but you have to be really careful with the type of videos you're making with it. Not every video will work well with this thumbnail. People see these thumbnails and are expecting a specific type of video that deals with investigation or mysteries. And if your video doesn't deliver on that, it could probably hurt it. So think more documentary style videos or videos where you're diving into a complex topic that has a lot of ambiguity around it. Think the title, I Investigated, would work really well for this thumbnail format. And now finally, let's get into the holding object format. So this is a simple, low clutter way to bring a lot of attention to a specific object. And it's typically done with the creator in the back, holding the main object of the video towards the camera so it's super in focus and super large. So this works really well because it's a super easy way to do a low clutter thumbnail that brings a lot of emphasis to the product that the video is about. So the easiest way to execute this thumbnail format, whatever object the main focal point of the video is about, have that be front and center, held out, and in focus. Make sure your background is super simple and uncluttered to not distract the attention of the viewer away from the object at hand. And this could really work well in a lot of different niches that are showcasing products. So tech uses this a lot, same thing with beauty and art. But I've seen it work well in cooking as well, among other niches. Now that you know how to use all these great thumbnail formats,